it ain't gonna happen.
A lot of people need to hear that. A lot of people need to hear that.
It might happen. It might happen.
If it ruffles up your feathers, we're exactly talking to you.
Talking to you, buddy. Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to Honest Tattooer, a podcast for tattoo artists, tattoo lovers, tattoo enthusiasts worldwide. And we like to discuss something that we all love, which is tattooing. And this week, we have a very special guest, and it's a dear friend of mine. What's up, brother? How are you, Gordo?
What up?
And as always, we have my co-host, Matt Truiano. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on?
And our man on the couch. What up, G Money?
What's poppin'?
Couch guy.
I'm lounging. It's comfy here. It's comfy. I like it.
Sick. So to start off, we're kind of just going to ask Gordo a lot of questions because I think that there's, Gordo's an amazing artist, and I think that we should get to know a lot about him and our history, and most of all about his unique style of tattooing. So first of all, Gordo, where are you from? How long have you been tattooing? And tell us a little bit about your style for the people out there.
All right.
These people over there.
So I am from Portugal. I've been on the road for 10 years and I'm tattooing for 15 years, I believe. And to talk about my style is, I can put it in the short version of it, right? Abstract calligraphy, but I try not to have label. So one of the things that fascinated me back in the days was this DVD about break dance called Detours, which was the ones who detoured from breakdance, right? And that's what I try to do. I try to detour from whatever.
Traditional lettering, calligraphy, etc., stuff like that.
So did you start doing actual lettering, calligraphy, like words?
Well, yeah. Not only that, but what I started doing was regular tattoos.
Oh, right.
I started an apprenticeship in a biker shop, Hell Angel shop, actually.
Back in Portugal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is like most of Europe. Like a lot of the big shops, even back in the day, were mostly like Hell's Angels, right? Like owned.
So, so when I started, I did every style. I had no ambition of having my own style or weird style. So I just realized right in the beginning that I wouldn't make a difference through skulls and Japanese or koi fish, whatever you want to call it. I realized that I'm going to make a difference with lettering. Probably because that's what I love to do. That's what I really think I can focus and spend the time doing. So I focus on that, and I bought calligraphy nibs that were wrong. They were not the right tools. They were the tools for calligraphy, but for black letter or block letter instead of cursive. And ended up falling in love with that.
With the look of it.
Yeah. Well, it reminded me graffiti and tagging, and that's what I was doing before.
Yeah.
So
it was an accident, kind of like how you got into it. Your style. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I just took advantage of it.
Yeah. When we first met, so me and Gordo met in Switzerland.
Yep.
And we were both traveling, and we met at a shop called Invaders.
Yep.
Owned by this guy, Christian. What is this like? How do you know?
Christian Wynn.
Christian Wynn. So that shop was great because it was such a great kind of like revolving door for a lot of like amazing artists from America, Europe. And you would have times where things like that would happen where, there's a guy from Portugal, a guy from America, and you get to like work together for a little bit and, form a friendship. And I'm like, shit, dude, we've like known each other for fucking years now.
Yeah. At least like 10.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild how time just goes, But when we first met, you were doing a lot of different kind of tattoos.
Yeah. I was doing basically
you were still
everything.
And then I remember when you were like, this is what I really want to do right here. And you showed it to me. I'm like, dude, this is fucking sick, And nobody was really doing that. From that point forth, I just saw it just kind of go and go and go, for you, where people were just like, I want this from you.
At the time, the dream was, just having a tiny little shop in my city, which is like outside of Lisbon.
Yeah.
And do the names of their kids, right? And some tribal, whatever I could do, I would do. And hoping that one day there would be enough people to get my style tattooed.
Yeah.
And that's what traveling gave me, was the possibility of compacting. Like, okay, I go to Germany and there's enough people to do like tribal and lettering and calligraphy. And once a month I would have someone who was like, oh, you have that weird shit? Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Actually, so I want to ask you that. Because I get asked a lot from newer tattooers who they want to only do style of tattooing that they really want to do, but they don't know how to make that transition. They don't know how to say no to people who ask them for something that this person doesn't really want to do. So what was your approach when you decided that you wanted to go from doing every style of tattooing to make a buck to only doing the style that you currently do now? Like, how long was that process?
Well, okay, to answer that, like, first of all, there's no too much work. People are like, oh, I don't want to post this because then people come to me for that and I don't want to do that. Like, there's no such thing as too much work, right? Worst case scenario, you don't have time for everything and you choose what you want to do. So I was doing everything. And then if I remember at some point, some people would write me for my style. So I started to like, okay, I have this one day a week that I can book myself instead of the shops booking me work, right? So that day is mine. And then 2 days a week and so on. So I didn't decide I'm only going to do my style. I was able to only do my style. So that was a process over 15 years, because right then when I started and I realized that I can make a difference through lettering, I focused on like, this is what I'm going to do. But, at the end, like if I can, if I have to go back and do whatever I have to do, I will.
Yeah.
If I don't have to, if I have one day to tattoo 5 people, I choose the piece I like the most. And why wouldn't?
Oh yeah, of course. So to this day, that now that you have established yourself as the Gordo Letters guy, are there still every now and then, does anybody ever ask you to do anything outside of that?
I mean, not really. It happened that someone from the past, like a client, and said like, oh, you did this, 10 years ago. And now for whatever reason, I need another name or another this. And normally I just recommend someone, whatever that person is from that I know, or the shop that I work with. If it was like Switzerland where me and John met. And I'm like, okay, if you are in Geneva and I'm not going there and I don't do this kind of work anymore, go see this guy or girl or whoever, this person.
I think too, for example, like, when I think that happens more when you're in that transitional period, when you're going from, I do all sorts of demands, to then get to that, like, people get to see this thing that I'm trying to do that I really like doing. And then, like, for example, your portfolio now, it consists of what you're doing, you know, it's because that's mainly what you're tattooing. So I think like one propagates the other, the more you tattoo something, the more likely you're going to continue to tattoo that. People like to know what their expectations are going to be met, So if like they see that you're great at doing, lady heads or koi fish or traditional tattoos, you're most likely going to get the same over and over. But of course, in that mix, you're going to get the people that are like, hey, you're good at this, so you must also be good at that. And those are the people that I know, but those are the ones that you have to kind of educate. And like, most of the time I've realized that those people that, are requesting for something that's outside of your style, they like your style, it's just that they don't, sometimes their own brain is like pulling them in a different direction. I feel like those people can be pulled back into like where you want them to
you also have to think that, tattooing, even if a lot of people don't want to consider it like art, even other tattooers, right? They all, oh no, tattooing is not this, is something else. And but at the end, it is. It doesn't matter what you want it to be. It still is. And most of people, they don't really understand art.
No.
So they're not going to choose you because you're good. They're going to choose you because they trust you.
Yeah.
Because they got tattooed from you before, or because
or somebody they knew.
Somebody they knew or something like they recommended them. Yeah.
or the shop that they trust, the local shop that they trust. Right?
I mean, like, I remember when I wanted to get my first tattoo, I didn't even look for a shop, or I asked people that I trusted, and they told me like, oh, this person, you should trust them. And then you're like, all right, that's where I'm going to go, you know, because I know nothing. So it's like, you know, I'm just going to go off of that.
So for the people who are just listening and can't see on screen, can you describe the type of lettering that you do? Because people are hearing lettering and they're thinking actual words, like the alphabet, but that's not what you do. So can you?
Well, it did started like that, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I started tattooing a mix of block letter with whatever was my mix at the time with graffiti and you know, whatever I would see in lettering at the time. There was not that much people doing lettering. BJ Betts, Jack Rudy, Norm, when it comes to tattooing, were the influences, and mixing it with, you know, calligraphy-ish. So a mix of tag and calligraphy, right? Eventually, it would evolve to one point that nobody could really understand, because I mixed it with whatever influenced me at the time. Symbols, symbology or symbols, numerology. I got into like the occultism shit, and I love like conspiracy stuff. So that wasn't, even if I wouldn't believe in most of these things, because I always say believing is not a choice, right? You believe or you don't. I didn't really believe in a lot of the things I watch about aliens, whatever, but it inspired me to create something that would be outside of our realm. And one day in London, in the UK, which was like probably 6-7 years ago, I had the guy who came to get tattooed, and he's like, I actually asked him, like, so what do you want to write? Because I'm freehanding. It's all on spot. You arrive, you tell me the word you want, and I fucking freehand it on you. So the guy's like, oh, no, I don't want to write anything, man. I want your style. You know, like, yeah, I write shit.
It's a word, even if you can't read it. There's a word there.
Yeah. So the guy eventually told me, like, yeah, but I don't want to write anything on my body. I thought this was like abstract, like tribal. And I'm like, fuck it, we make it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to lose the client.
Bro, it's like just write a word in Russian. It's just like a bunch of consonants next to each other.
You know what's crazy? You were thinking like a tattooer, that it was like, all right, I already got the client here, and you're already thinking like a good tattooer. I gotta make it happen for this client. You know, this client.
You're not going to live without paying me.
Yeah. And you know what? It might not be my thing, but we're gonna make it.
We're gonna figure it out.
Like, I'm a businessman. You're a client coming to me. I gotta make you happy.
It wasn't even the thing of not being my thing. Something I didn't really thought about it, right? So I had to create something that is not a word, but it looks like one, because that's what I was doing. Right. Eventually, I had a really hard time. It was a big challenge, right? But that was also something like, well, this is interesting, because if I'm not writing anymore, you know, there's a lot more possibilities.
Right.
Because, you know, comes someone for you, like, I want a bodysuit with a name, or I want a bodysuit of black work, abstract, whatever you call it. That's, you know, what I was looking for. I want to do bodysuit sleeves, right? And I had stuff like this before, like sleeves or back pieces, but they were always like OM, like or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that person, who I have no idea who it was, created that first thing. Okay, I gotta, find a way of writing my stuff without writing anything, and the solution was just fragments of letters. So imagine you start writing a B and you stop in the middle, and then you start writing an L and you stop in the middle, and then ornamental, and the fact that I stopped watching other calligraphy artists and I started absorbing stuff like architecture or nature related stuff like octopus and trees, then became even easier.
Man, one of the first lessons I learned coming at a art school was that I forgot if it was you got to kill your father or you got to kill your idol. One or the other. I think it was you got to kill your father, the way that the terminology was. Mm-hmm. But basically what it was is like you look up to your father. He teaches you everything. And in the art world, this would be the people that you are influenced by. If you're constantly looking at the work that influences you, you're going to
remain there.
You're going to reproduce work that looks like that.
Correct.
So you got to stop looking at that. And then you in turn start to develop your own style. You look within yourself and be like, all right, I'm going to influence myself.
Yeah.
And then you kind of develop your own style like what you did.
Absolutely. And then you start refining it.
Yeah.
And it just starts happening organically.
Yeah. It's like doing that. It's a journey in itself. Cause like in the beginning of that search of, there's going to be a lot of trial and error, it's going to be a lot of like just experimenting, till that experimenting starts getting like some cohesiveness or consistency. And you're like, oh man, this is where I'm going with this,
Yeah.
Right.
And to not put the client outside of the experience, because I always believe it's a collab with the client.
Yeah.
And I think like we
Absolutely.
just do it, they have to live with it, right? So I don't want to exclude the client at all. That's not my point with what I'm going to say. But I'm not doing this for the client either.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't start because I'm like, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of people happy.
Yeah.
So it's my own journey. And I just hope that on my way, I find people who like my shit as much as I do, or maybe even more in a way, because I wouldn't get a back piece of myself. Right? So,
Tell, dude, not word on my back. Out of how many countries have you traveled so far?
oh, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Dude, I haven't traveled to many, but I've had the pleasure of traveling to a couple countries, outside of the US. From what I can say is that even that is a hard question where I'm like, I'm trying to remember what country. It hasn't been many. So I can only imagine, Gordo, you've been through quite a few.
I've been, 10 years on the road. I can tell you like for the first 8 years, which was just before COVID.
Yeah.
The first 8 years I've been on the road, the longest I spent in the same place, no matter if it was my house or whatever, a guest spot, whatever it was 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah, for 8 years.
So just a month and one consistent.
That was the longest.
Wow.
Normal
The
would be
longest.
a week or even sometimes 2-3 days, move on.
Shit.
And then COVID happened and I stayed 3 months in the same place. And I think even till now for the last 10 years,
That's the longest.
3 months in the same place.
Same place.
So obviously it works because you've been able to do it for so long, but financially, how much of a burden is it to keep traveling like that?
Well, it's both sides because there's two things, right? Is the expense of traveling, but the profit of, compacting work. I'm a hardworking person, I would say. So I had days that I'm working from, 9, 10 in the morning. I'm in the shop, start at doing around 10, 11. And if I do what I call like 2 full days in one day, which is I have 2 clients for a full session, I get out of the studio at 1 in the morning. So I don't do this anymore, not that much, right? But I've done it, right? So obviously then you compact work. You put a lot of work in the same week. And,
Right.
And
So it's profitable, but it's very
Taxing.
It's got to
Very
be
taxing.
taxing.
and it was an investment
Incredibly.
too. So right in the beginning, I would, get to a shop and like, hey, can I borrow $300 for the week? And I would, buy the ticket for the next place with that money. Or I slept in the shops. I ate, the same pizza for 3 days.
Right.
And now, things work.
Things
out.
are different. Yeah.
That's right.
I think that's like huge. When I traveled, like, I kind of went through the same stages where at the beginning, you're like, you're budgeting, yourself and you're budgeting, your experience, but you still have to travel. I think you either want to travel or you don't, you shouldn't wait till you like, oh, I'm going to wait till I can travel at this. No, you should just do it. Start travel, especially tattoo traveling, because you have to build clienteles in other places and that takes time. Even just showing up like, to the same convention every year. The first year it's going to be one way, but the next year when you go back, you're going to have probably people that you tattooed the year before or somebody that got recommended by, you that you come around to the show and like just doing conventions. I would build clientele in different cities. And then after conventions, I can set up guest spots and then keep building clienteles in different places.
Yeah, you're establishing a presence.
Yeah, you're establishing there's still people in Europe that are like, man, why don't you come back? You know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, not at this point. You know,
Yeah,
it's kind of rough.
And it's again, like, for me, you know, like going through conventional ways of promoting your work, like magazines, of course, social media, but, you know, traveling, conventions, guest spots. If I come to this shop and even if I have work, even if I'm fully booked, I normally like, hey, post that I'm here.
Yeah.
Share that I'm working, share that I'm coming. And then you share the shop in Hong Kong shares, the shop in France, you know, the convention in Germany shares, and so on.
Yeah.
And you know, sitting on your ass and waiting for shit to happen.
It ain't gonna happen.
A lot of people need to hear that. A lot of people need to hear that.
It might happen. It might happen.
And it's going to ruffle up the feather. If it ruffles up your feathers, we're exactly talking to you.
Talking to you, buddy.
But it might happen to some people. Man, I know people tattooing for less than 2 years and they're fully booked and more booked than I, and they are amazing. But that's not all of us.
Right.
Some
That's
of
a
us,
very small percentage of people.
Yeah.
Like, those are the people who are like that are like, you know, the guys who are winning the lottery. Like, it happens. It could happen.
Oh yeah,
But it's very rare.
Don't rely on that.
Yeah.
yeah. But what we
And
see,
don't compare yourself to that because they're anomalies.
what we see is not the process. It's
Right.
the final product.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Right? People
Yeah.
didn't saw me going to the local gym to take a shower because I was sleeping at the shop in the massage bed.
And exactly.
And there was no
People
shower in
don't
the
see
studio.
that part, you know, of the grind.
Right?
You know.
And that comes to what Matt was asking, like, hey, when did you switch? Like, I didn't switch. I did switch, but it wasn't like, this is what I'm going to do. I was happy doing whatever I was doing. And I ended up being lucky enough.
It happened organically.
Yeah.
Of just like, you know, the more that you traveled and kept doing what you were doing, the more people wanted to get your special style. Eventually people are like, that's all I see from him. So that's all I want, you know?
And there's no, you won't be disappointed because there's no expectation.
Right.
Whatever it comes, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
just being lucky.
It's going to look like I want a Gordo piece, and it's going to look like it,
Yeah.
you know?
Some people are okay with freehanding on spot.
Yeah. I think the biggest benefit of,
We'll talk about more of that on another
the
topic.
biggest benefit of, I feel like, of doing
after show.
a certain style, you know, consistently like that, of doing like one, is that people are a lot more like, yeah, man, I just want you to do that. Just do your thing, you know? They're not going to argue with you too much. They're going to be like, yeah, I've seen you do this one thing a bunch of times and I like all of them. Yeah. Do that, you know? Do your version of that again.
Sometimes the hardest is to be different.
Right.
Because
so then switch it up.
Some
Not be monotonous.
Some clients want to collect. So it's like, yeah, I freehand on spot, so I want to do whatever I'm inspired. Like, yeah, but I need to have a piece by you.
Yeah.
So I want others to recognize because they're collecting. And I'm not going to say that's a bad client. I'm just saying that sometimes that client, it's you know.
Yeah. It has its own different challenges with those people.
Yeah. Because they want a Gordo Letters piece or a Jon Mesa piece. Like, hey, just fucking, like, being free is how you like my work. Creating something new, that's why you came to me. So let me do the same on you.
Yes. Well, people want something that's like, especially collectors, they want something that's easily identifiable. They want like, oh, that's a Gordo Letters right there. You know, if you wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't want you to experiment something different. You know, they want you to do like, make it trademarked right there.
Man, I've had a couple of collector clients that like instantly I could pick out the other tattooers are on, you know, this person. And then they ask me to do something that's not in my style. They're like, oh man, can you squeeze something in here? I'm like, man, now I have to do something totally different. Like, it stinks. It stinks.
I had a couple of times people asking me like, you want to be, you know, you want to do your piece next to this guy or next to that guy? I'm like, the fuck, I don't care.
Like, I don't care. Just tell me what spot I got. Give me a spot. That's it.
Yeah, you tell me.
Yeah. Tell me what spot we can put tattoo you on. Man.
Some clients can be pretty funny.
Gordo, I got to tell you, the first day that I met you, was back at the old shop in Bowery.
Yeah.
You were just arriving. You were setting up your station. You were the only one in the shop. I came in, I had to either pick something up or I don't know, but I came in and it was just you and then it was just me. And I walked in, I didn't know who you were. You were walking around the shop in sweatpants and no shoes. And I was looking around. I was like, man, some bums came into the shop. Who is this guy? I was like, who let this homeless guy in the shop?
That sounds like, like
me.
Oh, it's pretty good.
I do wear shoes now.
Like now I wear shoes, guys.
But like in summertime, tattooing without nothing, like just shorts, no shirt, no shoes.
Oh, it's free. It's free.
Fucking awesome.
It's free.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'd feel free too.
John, you were a king of not wearing a shirt tattooing for a while.
Yeah, it was for the same reason.
Almost every convention.
Yeah, man. If it's like, man, I'd get hot. I'd be like,
You know what's
man?
crazy?
Take this thing off.
And that's something that I feel like a lot of people don't even give a shit if you're either physically fit or even like not even physically fit. A lot of people can like look at that and hate on it and be like, oh, he's trying to fucking show off, be a badass. But it's comfortable. And it is kind of cool.
Oh, yeah,
especially if you have a lot of tattoos. A tattooer with a lot of tattoos tattooing somebody. Like let's say the client is getting a back piece done and he's got his shirt off.
That's the difference.
And then the tattooer has a bunch of badass tattoos and he's got his shirt off. The whole thing looks badass to me.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, oh, that's
why we get
that's
them.
tattooing
Right?
to
Yeah.
me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So, but it's always funny where especially with like in John's case, when people would be like, oh, look at
this guy.
yeah, look at this guy over here.
Like, yeah, bro, go do your fucking push-ups.
Yeah, and I was like, go to your fucking booth and
Like,
do your tattoos your own way, bro. Like,
But people always find a way to complain.
Of
If
course.
you put your shirt off and you covered in tattoos, you're showing off. If
Wow,
you put your shirt off,
I
and
wish
you
I
have,
had the sound clip that would be like, hey.
But if you put your shirt off and you have no tattoos, they say you're a tattooer without tattoos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, people will always find a way. And I have to say, like, not different than anybody else. I had the same, like, oh, I don't want to show off. I don't want to be. And I saw Philip Lou, I believe, on an interview. And he says, like, how he likes to take the shirt off. And kids in the swimming pool come to, approach him and other people. And I'm like, fuck, if it's good enough for Philip Lou.
exactly.
Yeah,
Right?
all the time,
If
yeah.
Philip Lou thinks it's cool and normal to do that,
My guy.
I'm like, I'm going to fucking do it.
So
I
I hope you guys out there, if you don't know who Philip Lou is,
Stop
urge you,
tattooing.
If you're a
Yeah.
young
Stop
tattooer and
just
you don't
stop
know who Philip Lou
tattooing.
is, stop tattooing. Go be like, guys, go Google who Philip Lou is.
Put your fucking rotary
And,
pens down, throw them in the trash, and stop tattooing.
He uses rotaries too.
Yeah, he uses rotors.
Yeah, he uses anything.
Oh, okay.
He uses anything to tattoo.
Coils versus rotary. This is going to be another topic. I don't give a shit, but people that know what I'm talking about know the gist of the joke. No hate, but yeah, if you don't know who Philip Lou is and you're tattooing right now, stop it.
So just to annoy Gabe. So which tattoo do you use to line today?
A rotary.
I use a rotor.
But it doesn't sound like
No,
a rotary.
no.
Yeah. Still a rotor.
So
just to clear the funk,
So-
it's a
so you
Dan
faked
Cuban
it.
rotary, so it clacks. Okay.
Rotary.
that's like having like an electric car that has like that sound that's like a made up engine sound
No, man. Isn't that a Tesla where you can turn on the engine sound inside?
inside, but like now they have cars that give you an outside sound as well.
Oh yeah, like Ferrari.
I think the
Porsche.
BMW, there's a BMW like
All right,
one of
to
the
me that's a
BMWs does
penis
that.
pump right
Porsche is
there.
doing
That's bullshit.
outside. There's like speakers outside to make it make noise. But so I met Philip Lou and unannounced, my friend Seb was like,
Yeah.
hey bro, do you want to go meet Philip Lou? I'm like, yeah. All right, let's fucking go, dude. And we drive like an hour and a half, go to this mountain. You start driving up this mountain, you get to this village, like
Sanhua.
a Swiss village. And, we're like looking for the sign, dude. We can't find the sign. And they're like, we ask some old person, they're like, that house over there. We go over there, we just knock on the door. He like opens up, dude, shirtless. Like Philip Lou opens up shirtless and just like, what's up? I'm like, oh, like,
who the fuck are you?
yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, dude, he was like, what's up? Are you a tattoo artist? Yeah, come on in. That was it, dude.
Awesome.
That was it. Come on in. And then it's like super nice. And his mom comes out. And
Loretta?
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, these are tattoo artists from like America and blah, blah, blah. And then he told me, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of time to hang out, but feel free to look around because I'm filming like this documentary and about his dad. And what was crazy that the guy that was shooting the documentary with him, we had a friend in common. That guy was like, oh, you have like a sick like Seth Wood tattoo, right? And I was like, yeah. And then he's like, and then Philip Blue's like, take your shirt off, man.
Yeah, let's see it.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, of course.
He was like, take your shirt off, bro. And then I had to take my shirt off. And then, dude, you know when people just look at your tattoos, dude, he immediately just went, just, he touched my tattoo. Yeah, like if it was like an iPhone and zooming in, you know what I mean? Like he did that shit, dude, like where you like touch you, like expanding my skin and shit, like trying to see how like well saturated that thing was. And it was like, it's good.
Got that seal of approval.
Yeah. So Seth Wood, you got a seal of approval by Philip Lou. He checked out your shit and he said it was sick. But that's
If that doesn't get you a blue check mark on Instagram, nothing will.
Oh, bro, that's like such a good feeling. Like, oh wow, that guy saw my shit and he said it was cool. So,
Sick.
man, it was just a great experience. And I've always thought like there's something, especially when the whole idea of like when as a tattoo artist you're covered in tattoos and you show that to your client, you're immediately showing you, I've been there, bro.
That's right.
That's an immediate, like they know that you've suffered through that experience. You know,
I got a
that
cookbook
you're
on my
putting
shelf
them
that
through.
literally says, "Don't trust skinny chef," or it goes something like that. I'm pretty sure I'm massacring it, and it's kind of true. You know, you're trying to sell a product, which are tattoos,
And
and you know what? There's going to be a lot of hate from you know. You don't have to be full with tattoos to do. I was like, I'm not saying that you're not skilled with tattooing, but you're not about the shit if you don't have tattoos and you're tattooing.
I mean, you for sure have more experience,
Yeah.
right? There is no such thing as less experience. There's only more experience.
More
Correct.
experience.
Correct.
And even if it's bad or good, painful or not. So, I mean, for example, I don't have my hands done or palms. I don't have my neck, at least not on the front. I have the back of my neck.
That's
and
right,
don't
neither
have
do
my
I.
head. And I don't know if I will ever get it. Maybe
Yeah.
the dome, the very top, but probably not.
Right.
Right. So, but I still do a lot of heads and faces.
Right.
So that's something that when I'm doing someone's head or something, I'm like, you know, I'm not exactly sure what they're going through stress wise. And when it comes to like having a visible tattoo like that
That's right.
or, you know, pain, but I have the rest of my body done, right? I'm pretty covered by now. And I get tattooed for more than 15 years constantly. And that keeps me grounded.
Yeah.
That makes me be more compassionate when I'm tattooing certain areas,
Right.
more delicate. And
And you can actually talk from experience.
I don't
and
do
be
I don't do a better tattoo because of that, but I do a better customer service because of that.
exactly. You
You know
nailed
what I
it.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like
And it looks sick.
it looks sick. And that's what I was gonna say. I was like, I'm covered in tattoos because I love tattoos. That's it. I love tattoos.
Yeah.
Like, you know, from a client standpoint, I love tattoos. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, because it's so different to be somebody that like loves tattoos and somebody that loves to make art. And they just happen
Right.
to make art in the form of tattoos. Or you love to make money. And tattooing has allowed you to monetize your art skills,
Correct.
you know? And that's the difference. I happen to fucking love tattoos, bro. That's why I'm covered in tattoos.
That's right.
And now there's a lot of people that are tattooing and they don't have any fucking tattoos
None.
because what they like is I was able to monetize my art doing this shit.
And they're also not contributing
You know,
by doing that.
it's
All you're
it's-
doing, a lot of people will be like, oh, what do we have to contribute? What do we have to put back into the pot of tattooing? I mean,
I'm an experience getting tattooed.
yeah,
You know, like
Well,
I feel
it's-
like that's
it's-
important.
because it's all about really like to me, that's some poser shit. Because to me, it's about you get tattooed as a tattooer because you want to be involved. Because you're actually geeking out the same way that the client is coming to you for your shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like a revolving thing.
It is a revolving thing. And it's like, you also like come from a place of experience where you're full of these tattoos. The tattoos were also part of your journey, whether you got them from your fellow companions, your friends. But, you know, it's like that energy transfer to me. You know what I mean?
I think when I get tattooed, there's definitely two sides, right? Like there's the side of collecting or the experience, right?
Yeah.
I have small, goofy tattoos by non-tattooers.
The memories,
friends,
Yeah,
so many different things. Yeah,
Dude,
like the
some
memories.
good, some
3
not so good, but that's not the point.
Like
Yeah.
that 2-3 in the morning tattoo
Right.
on a guest spot that you fucked, then you're like, let's go back to the shop and do that as a tattoo, right? Then you have that fun moment. And there's also like, okay, I want to get a large piece by this guy that I like, or I want to get to know, or that I already know and is a good friend of mine. So I want him to be occupying a big space. And those are very different feelings, right?
Absolutely.
And I love the idea that, my ribs and torso are done, so I don't have to go through it.
Yes, because those are shitty.
Right? They're
Shitty experiences,
So-
hard experiences.
So, there's the experience of that, or the final result of just having your body covered, which is important because it hurts. So let's get it done. And like, oh yeah, this little weird, goofy thing is because I was with my friend at 3 a.m. and it was fun and we were drunk and we got it done.
Yeah. I feel like people that love tattoos and that have a lot of tattoos always have at least one of those. At least one. One of like, fuck it. Just, I know you don't know how to tattoo, but you're my friend and you're going to fucking do this right now because I'm, I'm down, But it's like one of those like things that it's like later you're like, why the fuck did I do that? Why did I do that? It's like,
It's like, oh, this hurts.
yeah. It's like, oh man, it sucks way more when his body doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Like, fuck. But I feel like it's such a good, like, it's always a good story and a good memory.
Absolutely.
You've traveled to a lot of countries. You traveled, all over Europe, the US,
Asia.
and you've worked in Asia. So you've seen so many different markets and so many different people. How would you say it differs from as far as charging, like money? Like how are you charging people in different places? And as far as just like the tattoo markets, how do you feel that they all compare kind of like average to each other?
So there's, in my opinion, right, there's two ways or 2 points. I don't know if that's the English word that I should use. There's 2 reasons on how I can charge someone, right? The first reason is the economy of a country.
Okay.
So let's say that it doesn't matter who I am, but there's a shop minimum or a price per hour from a shop.
Yeah.
So if I'm in Germany, France, Portugal, Romania, Nepal, Hong Kong, US, even inside of the US. So like all these, like there's a different economy.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
If I come to New York and I charge the same that I charge in Portugal, like that would be really cheap.
Yeah.
If I charge the same that I charge in Nepal, that would be even more crazy.
Even more
right?
crazy cheap.
So there's the economy of the place, the city, the country, etc. And then there's how much you can charge, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I'm working at home in Portugal. I don't have Portuguese clients, right? All my clients,
People are flying in.
yeah, my clients fly in and they still pay a lot less, right? But for multiple reasons. One of them is I don't pay a cut, I don't pay hotel. I'm at home,
Right. You're at home. You're in a different
and I'm still charging more than most of people.
than the average Portugal client. I mean,
So-
tattooer.
Yeah, and then you have, like US is a different beast because you as a country, as a economy, and not only that, as a culture, there's the culture of capitalism.
Oh yeah.
Right? So here you can grow as an artist
Bro, the American dream is alive, bro, and people just forget about it.
It is 100% true.
Dude, if you come from abroad there, and no matter where you're from, there's nothing like in the US. You can grow so much. You can, like look at like if you're here, you can go there next door, have some dumplings for $4 and that's a whole meal.
Yeah.
Or you can go get some lobster for $100.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the same in tattoos. I can, come here, work every day for the daily rate I charge as much as I can. But if I go to Switzerland, that it's the only country in the world that I charge is the same that I charge in
the US.
In US, it's the same because the dollar and
Switzerland is so fucking expensive.
Yeah, I can charge the same there.
There's a lot of money in Switzerland.
But I have
so
a few clients. I don't have 2-3 months of work like I can do here.
Right.
At a time, right? But so there you go. You have a huge difference when it comes to something like this. So I always say price of a tattoo is what you can charge, not what you want.
Yes.
Because if I want $1 million for a tattoo, I can ask for it.
Doesn't mean you'll get it.
But if nobody tattoos, that's still $0.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to traveling and economies, I mean, I'm from Portugal, so I'm always good to go out.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Coming back is
there's
always
a good opportunity and your money's going to be worth it.
But, again, like the idea is to go for the clients who want what I want to do. And
who are going to make you feel valuable and at your price.
Yeah, and after you have those clients, after I have the Hong Kong market, the UK market, the German market, the US market, then out of 100 people that I have in US, one on each place, right? On US, on Germany, blah, blah. One on each country are going to come to Portugal.
Right.
And then when I'm back home, I don't need that much work.
Yeah.
So I can focus on other things.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like there's so many artists from other places and you guys are like, man, I want to get to that point. I want to get to that point where I can, go to America, where I can go see places, where I can travel the world. And that's what I wanted to talk about.
Dude, same. Because, John, when I go to Italy and I talk to the Italian
those guys
over there,
that's their dream.
Bro, because when I find out what they make in a day or how much they charge their clients, I'm like, me coming from my cushiony, awesome capitalistic America and what I'm used to, I go over there and I'm like, oh man,
you forget how good it is right here,
and
bro.
It's like, you guys are lucky to charge what? And I'm over here like, needless to what I'm trying to say is that I don't feel like I'm getting what I feel I'm worth when I'm outside the US. You feel me?
Absolutely.
Where I'm just like, damn, dude, I have to lower myself how much?
And guess what?
But the thing is, like,
that's the same thing that they feel when they're there. Like they feel the same way. Like those tattoo artists that are crushing, doing beautiful work.
They're like, I'm not living my dream right now.
They're like, I could be in America fucking crushing, bro. And here I'm like limited by, all of these, economic situations in their country and et cetera and all that stuff.
I think the biggest difference that I feel from, for example, a country like Portugal and let's say Italy and countries like this in Europe, right? The biggest difference to US is when you actually make it. If you are making really good money, even if it's a lot less money than here, but let's say you are really doing good for Romania, for fucking Italy.
Yeah, it's all relative.
So relative,
So when you're making really good in the same place, even if you make less money, you're better there.
Right.
For one reason, or one thing that has different reasons is the different on the expenses you have.
Okay.
Right.
The amount of money you have to spend to make money.
Now hold on a second though. But in Europe, a lot of Europe, you may argue that may work, but there are many situations where the economy is down and But the price and the cost of living isn't necessarily.
But that's
like, you know
the
what
thing,
I mean.
like,
Like everyone always has this vision of like, oh, Europeans are always coming to the U.S. to travel because it looks like they have like more vacations than us and more money to spend. And
No.
I found that to be quite opposite.
But that's because you're generalizing. I'm not, right? My point
true.
is the opposite.
Yeah.
Is like I have my clients, for example, they fly into Portugal, right?
Right.
So if I wanted, I would charge almost the same I charge here. And if I take my hotel, my flights, my accountant here, my visa here, that costs money. If I take my expenses from here and I just see the money I make here out of a day, it's the same that I charge there, right?
Because you're not taking so many deductions and so many losses, you know, from
like
that.
to work.
But overall, like for example, for the reason you travel is because of like, you know, once you do being in a smaller, that's one of the benefits also of New York City. Being in a city with so many people, it gives you a lot more of like people overall to tattoo that want your niche style, you know?
Well, yeah. And when it comes to that, you have even other things, which one of them is like every country and city has a specific thing. Like Portuguese people don't really care about black work and abstract.
Yeah.
They like old school traditions, sailor tattoos, right?
Yeah.
But and you go to Germany and US and in UK and France, they like black work more. US only a few years ago start to get into black work.
That's
and
true.
Because
That's true.
I start tattooing black work here almost 10 years ago. I grew up with the trend.
Mm-hmm.
So people see my work often, see, oh, this guy's doing this over and over and over. So they trust you.
Yeah.
And they come to get tattooed by me or you because they trust what they saw. But if I go to Italy, I barely have work, right?
Yeah.
And it's next to
Gordo,
Portugal.
that makes so much sense because exactly how you mentioned it, you do your style of like calligraphy, abstract, black work. And like you said, coming up here in the US, it wasn't really a normal thing. So people that wanted something different
Had to be me.
It had to be you.
Well,
You know what I mean.
yeah.
You fell into that category
Yeah.
of like, oh,
Me and a few others,
that's right.
mostly from Europe.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't even American tattooers doing that stuff. It's you coming in overseas.
I mean, even worldwide, like if you think worldwide, how many black work artists you know? You have like Rocks and whatever, a few other, right? American artists. But like if you go to a supplier here and you want to buy a 35 mag, a 25 mag, it's hard. You go to Europe, 25 mag is small.
Exactly.
Right? So,
because, yeah, of course. Everyone's filling in large fields of black in Europe.
but you go to Portugal, old school, traditional country, blah, blah, blah. Why the fuck they want to get, Right. And then you have like black work are normally also more expensive projects, a whole sleeve, whole back. If my clients come for a small piece, like nowadays is hard to do. I barely do that. I mostly do full sleeves or large scale pieces. But if you want a traditional back piece, most of the time it's going to be a bunch of shit put together.
Right.
Not shit in a bad way, right? A composition of pieces.
Yeah.
Rather than one huge element.
Fucking sick. God damn, man.
Yeah.
So
We could spend
unfortunately,
so much more time on
yeah,
this.
we could spend talking all night with Gordo,
yeah.
but we're gonna go drink with him instead. But what I would like to say is like, Gordo, thank you so much for coming to the podcast.
My pleasure.
Yeah, man. Thanks for blessing us.
Where are you going next? Where's your next travel so people can find you, and how can people find you on the internet?
All right. So from now on, and things changed by the end of last year for health reasons and other reasons, but mostly I'm going to be splitting my time between Portugal and US.
Wonderful.
So I travel inside of US, mostly between East Coast and West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And at home or in Europe, I'm at home in Portugal, and you just got to reach out and get on the waiting list and, want something large scale.
How do they reach out to you? Where do they go to find you?
GordoLetters@gmail.com or just Gordo Letters on my Instagram.
Your IG? Yeah.
And that's it. I don't have any other social media.
Cool.
Cool.
Awesome.
Oh, and anyways, guys, thank you much for joining us. This is Jon Mesa.
Matt Truiano.
And G Money, Gabe Tattoos.
And Gordo Letters.
And thank you so much for hanging out with us on another episode of Honest Tattooer. Make sure you tune in next week and see what we got going on. And peace.
Peace.
Bye.